Hello, hi there. Angela here. Lovely to see you all again. And those of you who follow this show, and there's quite a lot of you now, will know that we run this show live at midday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And it's based on themes that we cover in the YBMB program, the Your Body Means Business program. Mondays, we talk about transformation of the body. Wednesdays, we talk about upgrading your mindset. And on Fridays, we talk about business. And very often I try to get a guest on that embodies what I'm sort of thinking about and some of the key messages that come out of the program. That and when I don't know them that well and they really sort of inspire me with the first conversation, I always try to get them on as well. And Christian Cox actually falls into that category. So firstly, hello, Christian. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Angela. A real pleasure. Thank you very much for having me on.
So lovely to see you. And Christian, as those of you who are watching this on Instagram, you'll be able to see Christian on Instagram. He's got a great page, which is where I actually came across him first of all. He's a property developer in West London, and he'll go on and tell you a little bit about that in a moment. But we met only quite recently, and I loved the way that Christian sort of spoke about how he runs his life, how he compartmentalizes things. You're a real sort of modern man in terms of really sort of doing, full on with his business, but also very, very involved in his family as well and into fitness and all of that. And I just thought, very inspiring. So Christian, firstly, just wanted to, again, say welcome and just get a little bit of background about you so that you can tell people, what you've been up until now.
Well, firstly, thank you for that introduction. I guess some of it, maybe most of it is true, but maybe not all of it. I'm now a property developer in West London, as Angela said, and we've been going for a decade as West 11, and you sort of look back and think, how on earth has that happened, from the slightly scary days of buying a flat on Portobello Road that, I pulled a brick out of the wall and I could see the neighbour next door and I'm thinking, is this really going to be a business? And now a decade on, we've built out over 70, 80 apartments and we've sold on 30 off plan. So I guess we are, the market perceives us as a pretty reliable, regular, fairly big developer in West London. But the reality is that I view us as really quite a small player. We do an apartment a month. The reason how I got into it, other than it's a neat business in that it has finality, you put all this effort and love into a property and the day it sells, the deal is done, you get the money, it's, it has real clarity, it's compartmentalization of a business, which we're...
And you leave a legacy of some sort, you'll always know that was your piece of work.
That's the idea, and that obsession, so 1 in 3 people buy a second, third or fourth apartment from us. The actual foundations of West 11 started in another business, which was actually being an estate agent, because I witnessed so many people doing a lot of stuff really well, but an awful lot really badly. And I began to think maybe I can do that and I can do it better. And to do that, sometimes people say, well, you obviously do it for the money. The biggest thrill I have is when someone says, I've seen a West 11 apartment. Can you build it for me? Can you find one for me? Or I'd like another one. That tells me that my product is great. It's reliable. We're unique in that we come back and fix everything for the duration of the ownership. To get to that point though, we had to make some early mistakes. And I realized early on that actually the best people to surround myself with, sort of by nature, are women, because they generally seem to care more. And they're orderly, and I think I'm a slight exception. I'm a bit of a nerd in that I think you picture a property developer often as, I don't know, a blacked out Range Rover driving wide boy, and I have had periods in my life where I've had weakness in slightly dodgy cars. I'm actually a bit of a nerd, so I live by, probably can't read it, but I live by ticking boxes, by a journal. Because I know by Friday evening, if I've ticked everything on this diary this week, then I'm probably on track. Maybe not this week, but I am on track to what I want to achieve. And I found it fascinating early on the number of developers that were obsessed about sort of getting bigger and going more and more expensive and going to Knightsbridge and doing 5, 10, 20 million pound houses. My business started doing 1 to 3 bedroom apartments between 400 and 800,000 pounds a decade ago. We now do, you know, probably from 800,000 up to about 3 million. It's still a huge amount of money. In the scheme of things within West London. I'm trying to remain bite size. And I also describe my business as I never go too far away from the shore. You know, if you're going to do a 3-year build in Knightsbridge, you know, with COVID, we've never seen a time like this. You just don't know what can change. Whereas if I'm going in and out of the market within 3, 6, 8 months, generally you're trading within the same market. To operate with that speed, you've just got to have order. So in my office next door, we've got Kat, Victoria, and my wife as well, works with me as well. Just from experience, women get shit done. I'm sorry, I'm probably not allowed to say that word, am I?
Yeah, no, well, I couldn't agree more. But the thing that I find as well interesting is what you said there, is that you've been very clear about your client group, and to say that this is currently a volatile market is a bit of an understatement. But what I like to hear about is when companies have managed to, you know, everyone uses this word pivot. It's a good word to describe what's happening, isn't it? And how, you know, that people have managed to stay calm and see where the market's going and see where the demand is, and sort of just, you know, obviously in your industry in particular, ride the crest of the waves, but also sort of survive the downturns as well. And you were saying to me about how journaling has really helped you, and lists and being organized has really helped you. So just tell us a little bit more about how you manage this business. You've got all of this activity going on in the background with your family and your lovely, you know, children, everything. I'll come on to that in a moment. But firstly, just sticking with the business for a minute, you know, what's your mode of operation on a usual day? How do you stay calm regardless of what's going on outside in the economy, and just continue to get shit done, as you call it?
So on a personal level, I start the day with 3 things. The first is I try and get up before everyone else, and I have a cup of tea on my own, which at the moment is in darkness, and just get some clarity about what I want to achieve that day. Second thing is pick the thing that I least want to deal with that day and put it right at the top of the list in the left-hand corner of my diary. And I have a system of squares and circles and triangles in different colors to keep on attracting myself to it if I haven't done it. And the third thing is actually go and do some exercise, because your body at the moment at 6 in the morning, it's dark, is giving you every signal, and you would be able to explain it better, Angela, but every signal to not go out into the darkness and run with a lung full of freezing cold air. So those are the 3 sort of core ingredients for me. And I find once I've had my cup of tea, once I've focused on, you know, the problem email that's come through, you know, with a license to alter, there's been a leak, or, you know, there's some
Yeah.
I think about how I'm going to deal with it, but I then go and work it through my mind whilst I exercise. And I find that is the best place for me to, you know, almost flick the switch on my body onto autopilot, let it warm up, get the blood flowing, you know, let the endorphins kick in, and then just run through in my mind, a little bit like if you've watched Queen's Gambit on Netflix, she has the ability to look up and see how all the games pan out. I have never finished exercise where I've come up with a worse decision. And I'm also amazed that actually, had I not done the exercise, I think back to the decision or the plan of action I was going to take, and I can see that it was going to fail.
Yeah, it's so interesting, you know, that link between exercise and business comes up time and time again. And it was why I actually created the YBMB program in the first place, because I had no idea, you know, when I very first started to get involved in weight training, as I was saying to you, which was about 4 years ago, just over 4.5 years ago, I just thought I'm just going to get rid of, you know, my sort of middle-aged spread. And I didn't want to sort of give in to this whole idea that, you know, you get to a certain age and then you sort of get a bit of a mumsy body or a dad bod. And I didn't want to sort of give in to that, you know, and I was frustrated with it. And so I managed to achieve that physical transformation. But what I was really surprised about was that feeling of control it gives you when you take control of your body. And that then really leads into things with your business, and it makes business a lot easier, I think. And what you said about answers coming to you when you exercise is something that people don't realize until they they don't realize that when you start exercise, I'm talking about people that maybe just join our program, they think it's a sort of a 13-week program only, but it's a lifestyle change, isn't it?
It's a reset. It's a reset.
And once you start that change, you sort of can't, I don't think you can live without it, because it just becomes part of you and your identity, regardless of, it helps you, it's a coping mechanism as well, I think, with regard to what goes on.
Absolutely. And, there are lots of coping mechanisms out there, and a lot of them actually aren't, the obvious ones are, you can drink alcohol instead. I had a real weakness for Diet Coke, and I replaced it with soda water, because I realized actually probably 80% of the reason why I did it was, I'm frustrated. I know what to do. I will go to the fridge. I will get something that I can control. It's cold, it's fizzy, the noise. And I realized actually so much of it was behavior. And I was thinking, actually, again, I'm allowing my body to sort of channel the frustration, which you have in every business at some point, in a way I didn't want to go. And then sort of, made the decision that actually to train more, a little bit like I don't want a dad bod. I want to start the day by winning, because that will feed into other decisions. And the easiest win is think, am I going to get control of my body now? Or am I just going to give in and not go out for a run?
It's interesting, you said about the, that whole process of going to get a can of Coke. I don't know if you follow Tony Robbins.
I don't, but maybe I will now.
You probably like his stuff, and he talks about the 6 human needs, and one in particular he talks about is certainty, and our need for certainty. And obviously there are things like having shelter and water and food and that, but there are other things that we do. Well, all of us human beings do things to achieve certainty, and some of us, we do it in a very a way that's really good for us in other areas, like the running that you do.
Yeah.
And other things that we can do which can achieve that same certainty but are not quite so good for us, like having that daily glass of wine, having the Diet Coke, smoking a cigarette. It's interesting, but we're all trying to achieve the same thing. So you sort of switching from the Diet Coke to maybe the soda water or the running. It's quite interesting. It's such a great example.
I didn't go off a cliff, because I always like to see the next moves in front of me. So I would describe it as I'll throw myself off the ski jump, but I can see the landing. And again, I can't remember my Diet Coke, but I was having like 6, 7, 8 cans a day, and it was an easy switch, because 70% of the process was replaced by fizzy water. And then I was thinking, why am I drinking so much fizzy water? And you can steer your mind and body and channel things in the right way. And then I found actually by managing myself better and exercising, and at the moment it's tough. What I'm actually missing is going to a gym and doing weightlifting. And if you can see me, I'm not, some massive weightlifter. That's not my build, and it never will be. But just the satisfaction and the feeling, I would say actually lifting weights has been the biggest change to me, fitness-wise, in the last 20 years.
Well, one of the, I was on a program last week, which was sort of all the cutting edge scientists in the field of longevity. And what they said was, in order of priority, the very first thing for longevity and health is sleep, a minimum of 7 hours. The second thing is diet, and that primarily means a massive reduction in sugar, no sugar if possible, but certainly no artificial added sweeteners and added sugar. And then the third thing was muscle mass. The more muscle mass you have, the more it helps and aids longevity. And these people are talking about living until 150 plus. And what they're saying is, if you can sort of hold on and live healthily for the next 20 to 30 years, then basically they believe that it's going to be limitless how long you can live, because they're developing techniques for cell regeneration at such a fast pace. So we just got to hold on and look after ourselves for this short period of time, and then we can live forever. And talking of that, I mean, you've got this lovely family, and you've obviously, you talk about your morning and it sounds all really calm and controlled, but you've got babies and stuff and they wake up early. So tell us how you manage all of that.
Well, it's kind of the calm before the storm. And I was actually talking to someone on the way here I know is having another child. And I just said, look, it's magical because, so whilst I have order, a little bit like before Christmas, I was thinking, I've really bought a lot of properties. Have I made the right decision? Anybody who has zero self-doubt is a crazy person. You've got to have some, feedback to yourself. Have I made the right decision? So I set myself the target of, it's Q1, I will sell this number of apartments. But of course, to do that, you've got to break it down. You've got to make sure you've got the right number of agents on, how many apartments, what's the strategy. So again, I created order to get my head in the right sort of frame to deliver, and I reset every day. So with the team in the morning, again, I'm generally down first. I'm not always, okay. My wife is incredible and orderly and organized and, just amazing in every way. But it's crazy. It's 3 children from 10, 3 and 9 months who all eat and drink different things. And I would describe it as sort of running some sort of kitchen really intensely. We get through about 10 different plates, 5 cups. That's if there's no spillages, okay? That's no car crashes.
Yeah. How do you how do you schedule it all? I mean, when we did our little thumbnail for this, one of my team put in a picture of me, when I was 20 years ago with my kids when they were 20 years younger. They're 28 and 27 now. And
I saw it. You look great then. Obviously, you look great now as well.
Thank you. It was quite lovely to sort of look at that picture again. But I look back at that with rose-coloured glasses. But I sort of can remember hectic mornings and stuff like that. So how do you organise it all?
Well, actually, this discussion has actually made me realise I treat the morning like I do this book. So before we go to bed, I make sure that my mug is out next to I'm so impatient. We have an instant hot water tap, which if you don't have one, it's life-changing, over Christmas. Life without
those all in all your apartments, don't you, as well?
I do, because I just like order and also speed. It takes 3 minutes to boil a kettle. Maybe that's a lost moment for some people. For me, I just want the tea as soon as possible.
I just love that. Just on that part, though, I love that, because I don't know if you've read the book Atomic Habits. Have you?
No, I haven't.
Such a great book, but what you're describing is a bit like the stacking of habits. You get your mug out, you've got it by the tap, which is already going to dispense hot water.
Exactly.
So what else?
I've got
what happens?
The hot chocolate machine ready the night before, the cocoa ready. Again, we all drink different types of milk. So that actually you can probably do in 3 minutes, which if you're slightly sleepy and you're doing one thing at a time will take you 15. And then you can serve it all out. And actually on automation, I know what time to put the toast in, the crumpets, the hot chocolate. I mean, my middle daughter, who is, adorable, and she's 3. And for Christmas, she asked for lipstick and high heel shoes. Nature is complete, beautiful prima donna. But before, she doesn't even wake up with morning, how are you? It's Dada, hot chocolate. She's straight into business. So we've got to be prepared for that, because if you fall behind, she goes to school, my son homeschools, he's next door at the moment. There are no delays. We've got to get this shit done, basically.
Yeah. So organisation the night before is really, really important, isn't it? But with the best laid plans, things happen, and obviously you've got the, like you said, the inevitable emails that need immediate attention and all that. So how do you manage sort of stress level? Do you do meditation or anything like that, or how do you stay calm and cool, calm and collected and work your way through that list then, even if there's things going on that maybe you didn't plan?
So as a property developer, you should show no emotion. Even if you are stressed as hell, you've got more debt than the UN, nothing selling, you've still got to be that swan gliding through the water, pedaling like hell underneath. And there has been moments where I've been frustrated from stress, and because I've been quite snappy with estate agents, because I can think in shorthand. My history before, I went bean to cup to equity director of Foxtons, ended up with 200 direct staff, 100 back office. Maybe that was where my training came from for having children, because they were like children. But I know what their thought is going to be in 3 minutes' time. So sometimes I'm guilty of becoming snappy and telling them what's going to happen in their mind and why I need to talk over them. And I've sort of made a decision in the last year or two to just not do that. And a few people I phoned and said, I just want to let you know, I'm actually sorry about that day when I said that to you, this is why. And it's gone a long way, because you're just offloading your stress on someone that's a lower weight in a boxing match, and it's just mean.
And it's really we are only human, you know, no matter
Yes.
how far you develop in your career and you're in charge of all these people and you've got this big business and everything, you know, we are all human, and we do, you know, sort of sometimes our guard drops and we're not maybe the best version of ourselves. But self-awareness is so important, you know, to sort of, one, notice it, and then two, try to adjust it, isn't it?
Absolutely. And the exercise really, really, really helps, just as a daily reset. You know, sometimes as a treat in the summer, if I ever go into London on the train, one of the most lovely things is actually to, because we have a place in London, but it's very small, and we have a house in Windsor where we live, is actually just to take time to go for a walk. Sorry, I'm West Country, so there's one word I struggle saying, like everyone else. I go for a walk. Hyde Park, and I'll pop out at Kensington Gore and just recognise actually what an amazing city London is, and how lucky I am to actually have a business that allows me the time to walk through these parks occasionally. And that's where sort of my business goes full circle, that having the children has made me realise time is finite, although I'm probably going to look into that programme you're on where we might be able to live to 100, 150. But that's what the work is for, to spend your time wisely, and that must be with your family. There is nothing more precious than that. So
I think so, yeah. Time is what our biggest asset, and nothing brings that home to you more, I think, than if you get an egg timer and you turn it upside down, and then you start watching the grain of sand go through, and you think about life in that context. That those grains of sand are your minutes or your hours, and basically, unfortunately, with your life, you can't go like that. And so it's all just sort of pouring through. And so the more time we spend doing things that we're not enjoying, or being in a way that we, you know, don't want to be, whether that is overweight, not fit, stressed, you know, we're wasting those grains of sand. And I think awareness of that, and what you just said about walking, is another thing that we always advocate, you know, to get fit, and we want to get fit, obviously, all of us, to live a long but healthy life as well. You don't have to kill yourself in a gym. We do workouts, you know, from home, and we lift weights and everything, even from home, but it's not quite the same as the gym, but you still get a good workout. But, you know, starting off with just doing 10,000 steps a day and walking, you know, through the park. It doesn't have to be Hyde Park, although that's gorgeous. It can be any park, you know, just walking, getting yourself moving. And luckily, we're all still allowed to do that, even in lockdown. It makes such a difference.
And the quality of a conversation that I have whilst I'm moving is infinitely better as well. You know, I talk a lot and I move a lot, but I always say to sales guys, when I was, you know, a partner and a director at Foxtons, I said, you've got to walk through the conversation, okay? Because your mouth is only part of the communication, whereas if they can feel you're expressing it, I promise you it comes out better than slumping over a desk, looking down, you know, feeling your rolls of belly fat touch. You know, it's you know, the power of walking for me is a really special thing.
It's really true. And actually, I wanted to touch on that with you as well, is about, because in business, we're all selling. Even if we're not in business, everybody's selling in one way or another. You know, you're persuading people one way, even if you're just persuading your kids to eat their breakfast sort of thing. We're all selling in one way or other. And you and I, when we met, we talked a little bit about, you know, when we're interviewing people, and part of what we look at is their approach to fitness, their overall approach to their own personal health and fitness. And we both agreed that it's a real tick in the box for us if we see that someone is maybe in a competitive sport, or whether they're interested in their fitness and their health. And I've definitely in my time seen a real connection between people's business success and their, you know, especially on selling, and how fit they are. What have you seen in that regard?
They are absolute parallels. Salespeople come in every form. For example, actually, some of the best salespeople are actually the most disturbed because by their life that they've had, they've developed the ability to form relationships very quickly. The problem is they're quite brittle.
Mm.
What I love to see, my choice to work with someone is very quick, I think. Do they care? Could I have a cup of tea with them? Breakfast, a glass of wine? If those are the ticks, I then just have a quick look at the lifestyle. Do they actually care for themselves? Do they start their day behaving like a winner?
Mm.
And that doesn't necessarily always have to be to do with fitness. Sometimes it's to do with just a passion that they'll bring up and go, oh my goodness, I'm obsessed with Freddie Mercury and I can tell you every single song. It's like brilliant because they've got energy and a topic and a focus and a belief. But physiologically, we do need to stay fit. The generation we're in now, there's no excuse that we don't know about nutrition, about gut health. And the parallel, the best sales guys and girls I work with, they are physically and mentally fit. And the things together, 100%. And maybe in that order. I know I'm mentally fitter for sure after a run than I am sort of sulking in my flip-flops, questioning whether I should have another cup of tea to avoid going for a run.
Yeah, and I always think as well that the whole I don't know if you read, there's a book called Miracle Morning, and it talks about, because I love what you said about starting the day as a winner, behaving like a winner, and what that advocates is that you go through a process which I try and follow as best I can, and we definitely teach it on the program as well, which is that you spend that first hour and you do some meditation, you do some affirmations, written or verbal, but written. You update your visualization, so a short paragraph on what you see your future self, and you really try and visualize your future self in that environment, whatever it is, because it pulls you towards it. You do a short bit of reading, only 10 minutes of something that's going to really help you motivationally wise, and then you just you finish off with just sort of making any other final notes in your journal, maybe with your, like you said, you're doing that already, and then off you go and do a bit of exercise, and you can get that all done in about an hour and a half, and it really is a great way of winning the day.
It creates order. It creates
order.
You see the journey you want to go on.
Yeah, and no matter what area you're in, because I interview a lot of people. Last week I interviewed somebody who's in fashion. Again, what you would think is a market that's struggling at the moment because she's in retail fashion. Another one was on online, but still all thriving because they all do these types of things.
Yeah.
So it's not the economy and it's not the market that we can't control those things. We can control the things that we've been talking about.
Most people start the conversation with me with my work of, oh my goodness, what's it like at the moment? It must be awful. And the answer is, it is challenging. And there will be people who lose in this, who give in. My very simple methodology is, on a price point, now you are not shooting for the stars. I have the record for selling the most expensive one bed in Notting Hill, the highest price per square foot. You are a fool if you're going to try and achieve those price points today. So, for example, with an apartment at West 11, I'll get 5 valuations and actually ditch the top 2 and take an average of the bottom 3.
Right.
Like, excuse me, saying you always sell, Christian, because you undersell. Well, maybe I do, but I would rather sell than some of my competitors who have a big flat on the market for a year and a half, and then phone me and say, hey, I've just sold and I got a higher price per square foot. Well, you've taken a year or 18 months. The real profit in developing is actually working at pace. You're better off, going in, getting it sold and coming out of the market. And it's good for the brand. People never see a West 11 apartment sitting online for a long time. And that's what I want.
You've got a great brand as well. Just finishing up on that.
That really means a lot.
Brand is, you really have. And, I think one of the things is as well that shows that you care is you're so descriptive when you bring it to life. I think, it's a part of the visualization trick as well, because you not only put a photo up, but you bring it to life because you say, well, I'm walking down Portobello Road and I'm popping in to have a coffee with so-and-so. And, if you live here, you can hang out the window and shout to your mates down the road, and you really bring it to life with that branding. So how important do you think branding is in business? Does it come naturally, or is it something you work at?
I guess it's sort of accidentally natural, because I wouldn't say it's my forte, but West 11 is me. And I love it. You know, I was on Ladbroke Grove yesterday or earlier this week with a brilliant Italian relocation agent. And I said, Claudine, do you love this? And she said, I do. I said, great, because if you don't love the sirens, the buses, the people shouting, the fact that we could walk a minute from here and we can get Moroccan, Japanese, Thai, French, Spanish, and there's a person from every nationality in every direction, then you just don't get W11. But for me, the heartbeat of that area and you know, that part of West London is a magical place, and it's passion that comes through really. And I try to get over to overseas people that it really is a lovely lifestyle there.
Yeah, well, it's a great brand that you've built there, and it's lovely that it sort of comes naturally. And I definitely think that ties back when you're passionate about what you do.
Absolutely.
Then it shows through, and ultimately you get success because you want to do things. You want to get up in the morning and get yourself organised, but you want to attack the day, win the day, and tackle the problems as they come. So any sort of final, bits of advice for business people maybe feeling a little bit, battered and bruised as a result of what's been going on? What would you give them a few tips just to finish off?
I think I'd probably advise what we started with, which is get up first, make a plan, and picture where you want to be with your family, which beach in the warmth this summer or towards the end of the year, and just go at the day, because there are challenges for everybody at the moment, and there's more than usual, but in my business I maintain people do need to sleep, they do need a bedroom, they do need a home. So for me, I just want to make my home maybe not the best, but one of the best at a fair price. And they will sell, and that's been my experience this year.
Brilliant. All right, well, lovely to talk to you. Thank you so much for spending your time, and
pleasure
and all your colleagues, and I'm sure I'll see you soon.
You too. Thanks, Angela. Top weekend.
Bye. Thanks very much. Bye.